going to practice the advanced Excel functions that we talked about in class. We are going to complete the Party Planning Plus Part 3 work together. Go into Google Classroom and we are going to download the Party Planning Plus Part 3 file. We're going to click on the file name, click on the three dots, open in New Window, and then click on the download arrow. And we're going to open the file and click on Enable Editing. In the file, you'll see that there are 4 different tabs. We're going to make sure that we are on the Party tab. And the first thing that we're going to do is called Freeze Pane. Freeze Pane allows us to freeze a portion of the screen so that it always stays on the screen no matter how far up and down we scroll or how far horizontally that we scroll. So the first thing that we're going to do is select row 1. So we're going to click next to the number 1. That's going to highlight the entire row of 1. And then we are going to go to the View tab. On the View tab, you will see the Freeze Panes button. In Freeze Panes, you have options to freeze what's selected, only freeze the top rows, or just freeze the first column. Here, we're just going to click on Freeze Pane. And so when you scroll down, you'll notice that this portion of our cell stays the same. This portion of our spreadsheet stays the same. To unfreeze, you would simply click on Unfreeze, and then you'll see that your spreadsheet will allow you to scroll freely. So another example is if I want to freeze the first 2 rows, I can click on next to row 3, and I can click on Freeze Pane, and you will see that 1 and 2 are still frozen. The next function that we are going to use is going to be the concatenate function. Remember, we talked about this in class, and the concatenate function allows us to join text from multiple cells. So if we click inside of cell C2, we'll see underneath this column we're supposed to have first and last name. So we have first name in column A and we have last name in column B. We want to join those cells together. So we're going to click inside of cell 2 and then go to the Insert Function button. When we click on Insert Function, we'll get our function box that'll pop up, and we're going to search for concat. We're going to select the concat function. Once you select the concat function, it's going to ask which text we want to join together. So the first text that we want to select is going to be first name, which is in cell A2, and then we're going to click in text 2 box, and we're going to click cell B2 because that's where the last names are. And so if we look down here, our results will be first name, which is Adele, and then last name, which is Nelson. So that'll allow us to join our first and last name together. After you've completed the first function, then you can use your fill handle. You can double click and it'll fill down for the rest of the column. So I'll show you that again. We can just double click on the green square. Notice that our cross turns to a black cross, double click, and it'll automatically fill in the rest of the column for us. So that was an easy way for us to combine the text from 2 different columns. The next function that we're going to do, or the next step we're going to do, is going to be removing our conditional formatting. So remember, conditional formatting allows us to format our cells based on a certain condition, if that condition is met or not. So if we look at our spreadsheet, you will see that column G has conditional formatting on it. So we want to take this conditional formatting away. I'm going to select column G by clicking next to the letter G, and I'm going to go back to the Home tab, and I'm going to click on conditional formatting. Underneath conditional formatting, you'll see that there's an option that allows us to clear the rules, which will allow us to remove conditional formatting from either selected cells or the entire spreadsheet. We're going to click on clear the rules from selected cells, and you'll see that it'll remove our conditional formatting. So maybe that information is no longer important to us, or we don't need to have that formatting on our worksheet anymore. The next thing that we're going to do is use the if function. So if you remember, the if function allows us to determine whether something is true or false based on a certain criteria. So we're going to go into cell H2, and we are going to use a function that will allow us to determine if the price of our plates are going to be $20 or $15 based on the food option they selected. So we're going to go to H2 and we're going to go back to the insert function button. And then we're going to search for the function that is called if and select the if function. So the first thing you want to do in your function box is come up with a logical test. So this is basically saying, here's what I want to check to see if it's true or not. So we want to be able to determine if it is steak, as if they selected steak as the meal option, we want the price to be $20. If it's something other than steak, or if it's false, we want the price to be $15. So in order to create this logical test, we are going to find our meal options. And the first meal option is in cell F2. So I'm going to select F2. If it is equal to steak, then we want the price to be set to $20. If it is not steak, so let's say it's going to be shrimp or chicken. So if this logical test is false, we want the price to be $15. And so over here, you can see in our function box that if your cell is equal to steak, then that means that the results are going to be true, and that if it's true, the price is going to be $20. If it's something other than steak, also known as false, that the price will be $15. So if I click OK, what do you think the price should be for this first option? Steak, very good. But what if I go down to cell H4? What is the meal, or if I look at cell F4, the meal option is shrimp. So what should my results be? Right, it should be $15 because it's not steak. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and you'll see that it returns $20 to me. So if I double click on that green square, boom, it'll automatically fill in the rest of the information for us. So if I come down here, I'll see that this is shrimp. Shrimp is only $15. I'll see that this is chicken. The chicken is only $15. So if it brought back a false result, $15. If it brought back a true result, which is steak, it would be $20. Okay, so the next function that we're going to use is going to be the left function. So let's think back to our lesson. The left function is going to bring back a certain number of characters starting with the left side of the cell. So let's say if we just want the first 5 digits of this zip code. So in order to do that, we're going to click inside of cell J2, go back to our insert function button, and we're going to look for the left function. Okay, so for our logical test, oops, sorry, it's supposed to be left function, not if. Okay, so we're going to make sure we type in left. Okay. All right, so for our left function, we're going to say, where do we want to get our text from so that we can count these characters? We want our information to come from this cell right here because this is where it tells us our zip code. And then we want to tell them, or we want to tell this function box how many characters we want from the left. So if I go here, I want to get the first 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it should stop after this 2. So where it says number of characters, I'm going to type in 5 because I want 5 characters from the left. And you can see here, it's going to bring me those first 5 characters. And then I can click OK. Ta-da, there it is. It's going to bring me the first 5 digits of this zip code. So then I can either fill down or I can double click on that green square again. Next, it wants us me to count how many people have not RSVP'd. So we want to see how many cells are empty. Do you remember which function we could use for this? You got it, the count blank function. So I'm going to click inside of cell K2, and then I'm going to go to insert function. So I'm going to choose count blank. I'm going to click OK. And so I want to be able to tell Excel the range of cells that I want to count that have blank cells in it. So to determine how many people haven't responded, I'm going to be looking at column D. So if I scroll through here real quick, I know that my RSVPs start at D2 and they go all the way down to 1002. So for my range, it's going to be D2 colon D1002. Okay? So if I click OK, my results are going to tell me that out of all the people that I've invited, 16 people still have not responded. So that means that there are 16 cells within here that are still blank. So here are some blank cells. If I scroll back up, I think I saw a few in here somewhere. I saw some more blanks. There's some more blank cells on here. I'm scrolling too fast. Oh, those are the same ones. Anyways, you get the picture. You get the idea that there are a total of 16 blank cells in that column. If you scroll down, you'll be able to find them. Okay, next, we want to be able to format a table that's in our spreadsheet. Now, I want you to go to the Venue Comparison tab. If you go to the Venue Comparison tab and click anywhere within this information, you will notice something that says Table Tools and then Design tab. So that's one way to know that we have created a table within a spreadsheet. Another indicator to you is that you're going to see these drop-down arrows next to the headers. So people create tables in spreadsheets so that you can do things like sort or filter your information really easily. And so in our table, we are going to start by just adding our decimal points, something that's really easy to do. So we are going to select our data starting with cell B5 all the way over to cell D11. So on the Home tab in the number group, you can see that I have an option to either increase my decimals or decrease my decimals. So I'm going to increase my decimals by 2 places, and you can see that it'll allow me to round my change by using that increase or decrease decimal. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to name my table. So anytime that I want to be able to change different aspects to a table, I'm going to go to Table Tools and then click on the Design tab. Where it says Table Name, I'm going to erase that, and then I'm going to type Venue Data. And whenever you type in the name of like a range or a table, you want to make sure that you don't include a space, otherwise it won't accept your changes. So once you do that, you can just click off of it, and then you'll see that the name of the table was saved. The next thing that you're learning to do is something called banded rows. You'll see something like this on your certification exam most likely, and so it may be asked as if it wants you to highlight every other row. If you see a simple question like that, just know all you have to do is go to Table Tools, and there's an option that either says banded rows or it could be like banded columns. So banded rows will automatically highlight every other column. Every other row. And this can just allow you to read your information a little bit easier, and it can also add formatting styles quickly as well. The last thing we're going to do with the table is something that's called convert to arrange. Now, you may see something on your certification test that says remove the functionality from a table. And this is just basically saying remove the options to do like your sorting or formatting. And so it'll still keep the appearance of a table, but you won't be able to complete all the commands you would with the tables on there. And so some people may like to do this because they still want to have the appearance of a table, but they don't want anybody to change the information with the table functionalities. So in order to remove functionality from a table, it's super easy. All you have to do is click inside the table, and you just click the convert to range button, and it'll say, do you want to convert this table to a normal range? And you just click on yes. And so then you'll see that the table functionalities were removed. Hey, the next thing that we're going to do is format a chart. So we're going to go to the the venue chart sheet. And so for our venue chart sheet, one of the things that you'll notice is that on our chart, we have just like the number 1 down at the bottom. So maybe we selected our data incorrectly. It's super easy to go back and update or select new data once we've already created a chart. We can also switch our columns and rows to make our information make a little bit more sense. So on the Design tab underneath Chart Tools, we're going to click on where it says Switch Row Column. When we do that, it's going to allow us to see each individual name of the locations, then also how much it costs to rent each location as well. Another thing that we can do to help us understand information on the chart is add our axis titles. So anytime we want to add something or take something away to our chart, we can click on that plus sign, which is our chart elements, and we can just either click a box or uncheck it if we want to add it or take it away. So we are going to add in our axis titles. And so if you notice that it adds in our X and Y axis titles, and so then we can just double click inside those boxes and we can change the titles here. And so we're going to change this title to locations, and we'll just name this one. Right? And so that allows us to quickly change our X and Y axis. Another thing that you can do here, you can also decide if you want to take away your legend. And so that can just that can give you more space on your chart, or you can decide to keep it on there if you want to use it to explain more information. We'll just uncheck the legends box. We can also add data labels that'll help us to get an exact amount for a particular field, but it still allows to have that visual to compare against other locations. And so we just clicked on data labels, and you can see it'll put the exact dollar amount above that particular portion of the chart. We can also format our charts by changing colors. So you can change the color palette here. And so we can choose any color you would like. We're going to go with the, let's say, gold monochromatic. You can also do a colorful style, and then you can do your chart styles here as well. So I just did a monochromatic style. You can pick any one that you would like, but that's how you change your chart colors. And then the very last step is for us to be able to determine what we want to print on our spreadsheet. So we are going to go to the Party Sheet tab. On the Party Sheet tab, we are going to select cells A4 through F20. Okay, so once you have a range selected that you want to print, all you have to do is go to the Page Layout tab, and then you can go to Print Area, and you can click Set Print Area. And then whenever you go to the Home tab and you're ready to print, it'll just print out the information that you had selected. All right.